I'm so happy to be back with you, my YouTube family and friends. It's been a month I've been off YouTube. I lost my mom and I had to travel to Africa and back, and I'm so glad to be back with you all. I have been through this period of mourning a dear mom. She was not just a mother to me, but she was also a spiritual leader to me. So during this season of mourning, there are a number of things that I've learned and I continue to learn, and I wanted to share with you. You might not need it right now, but along life's journey, you might need them. So just bear with me. This is not a topic that we normally would love to talk about. In the culture where I come from, we usually keep the things that we feel inside, and grieving is one of the things that we don't usually talk a lot about. But through this season, I've come to learn a lot. I just wanted to share with you a few things that I have learned and I continue to learn in this season of mourning my dearest mom. And the first thing that you really need to do when you lose a loved one, someone very, very close to you and to your heart, is mourn. Just mourn. Allow yourself to feel the pain. Don't suppress the pain. Don't try to numb it. But there's a way of mourning. You should always mourn in a godly way, taking your burden to God, allowing God to touch you where you hurt the most. You can take your pain and the way you are feeling to God. Go to Him for solace, but allow yourself to mourn. The Bible tells us that there's time to be born and there's time to die. There's time to mourn and there's time also to dance. So there is always a season in life, and you cannot gloss over seasons or try to jump over seasons. You should embrace the season that you are in, knowing that God is with you, and putting your trust and your confidence and laying your burden to Him. You need to learn to talk about how you're feeling. It's very important to express yourself and to connect with people who understand where you are. Maybe people who have been in the situation where you are in, or people you can actually connect with and feel that they feel or they empathize with you, or they understand what you're going through. Talk about how you're feeling. That helps with the healing to start taking place. It doesn't mean that someone has to exactly have lost their mom for them to understand your situation, but they could relate to what you're going through. You can feel it in the spirit that this is a person I can tell or talk to about how I'm feeling. So talking becomes very important. Don't keep everything inside, because the enemy wants to destroy us, and it's in the season when you are down for nothing that he gets at you and he wants to destroy you. So learn to talk about how you're feeling. Connect with some people. They may not be in your very situation. They may not have been in your very situation, but if you connect with them, you can talk to them about how you're feeling, and that brings the healing. Also, be open to advice. You never know where your advice or that right word that you need in your season to bring that healing will come from. So just be open and talk to whoever you feel you can connect and talk to. Remember that these too will pass. There is no season that lasts forever. So allow yourself a mourning period. I cannot prescribe to you how long you should mourn, but I'm here to remind you that you should not rush yourself. Again, you should not prolong the mourning, because grieving is meant to be temporal, not forever. If you are not careful, you can stay in the state of mourning for longer than you're supposed to, and the enemy will take advantage of that. Weeping lasts for the night. Psalm 30 and verse 5 tells us that. But joy comes in the morning. No one can tell you how long you should mourn, but do not prolong your mourning. Know that joy will come again. So allow yourself a period. Everyone has a different period that they decide to mourn their loved ones. There's also great and not so great type of advice that people will give you. So you are their own judge by the word. If you are in the word, you will know that this is the right advice and this is not a good advice. And this is to people who go to console others. Sometimes people will come to you and tell you, don't cry, you are a woman of God. I think that's not scriptural, because when Lazarus died, Jesus wept for Lazarus. He wept for him because he loved him, and then he also wept because he was moved by the people who were weeping for Lazarus. And he also knew that he had the power to raise him up again, yet he still wept for him. That to me shows us that as a child of God, you're supposed to have feelings. You're supposed to love and be able to weep for your loved one when they die. The only thing that goes wrong is when you overdo it or you forget who the giver of life really is. Jesus is also our high priest. The Bible tells us in Hebrews that he is our high priest because he's been where we've been. He has gone through the pain that we've gone through. He understands how we feel. So as a woman of God, a man of God, you should be able to empathize with people when they are going through pain. And it's through that empathy that you touch their hearts. So don't stop people from crying. Don't stop people from mourning. Go in and feel how they're feeling. Then you'll be able to give them the right advice. So stay away from that kind of advice. If you lose a loved one, make sure you mourn for them. And there's a designated time for you to mourn a loved one. If possible, stay away from rash statements, rash advice. People will come to you and tell you, oh, don't worry, they are in heaven, they are resting. My husband always tells a story of this pastor who was leading this church, and whenever a member of the church lost their son or their child, he would tell them, don't worry, your son is with God, he's in heaven. And a time came when he also lost a son, and when he did, the people came back to him and consoled him and told him, don't worry, pastor, your son is in heaven. And you know what this pastor said? He says, no, this is real, So that will show you that sometimes people can rush into giving spiritual advice, scriptures, just because they are not in that situation themselves. So don't be in a hurry to give your mind, to give your advice from your own mind. Allow the Holy Spirit to use you. So make sure you take time to just sit if you have nothing to say and listen to the person. Just be there for them. Just sit there with them to show that you are with them and you understand what they are going through. And sometimes the other way is for you to ask a question. Is there anything you need me to do for you? How are you feeling right now? And as they open up, you'll be able to know from which angle you can actually advise and be of encouragement. Also remember that when you're going through a grieving moment, a hard season, whatever it may be, remember that you're not the only one going through that season. Somebody else might need your help. Reach out to others in spite of how you're feeling. Be of an encouragement to the next person. They may not be as strong as you are. And always remember to be your authentic self. I'll be talking to you soon.